about it.
Oh, hey guys, it's nice to see you.
Can't
okay.
I introduce our guests?
Alright, fine, go for it. I'll get myself set up.
Anyways, it's really good to see you back in Londononion's humble home. So great stuff. Today, we have one more class comparison, and we're going to be discussing what we think is the best solo class. So, come join us in the living room, and we'll begin.
What is going on, guys? Glad to see you back. For those of you who were here when I did my complete class comparison, there was a tie between two classes for highest independence or solo potential. Just like our offensive comparison between the assassin and the demolitionist, our objective today is to determine the most independent class between the assault and the engineer. So let's get started.
But wait, for those who weren't here, what does it mean to be independent in Defiance?
Oh boy. Alright, first we'll define what we mean by independence, we'll compare the two based on that definition, and then we'll make our conclusion afterwards. Happy?
Yes, quite.
Alright, then now we'll get started. Junior, hit it.
Junior, wait, not the train, Junior.
So in reference to our complete class comparison, independence was our highest priority factor, with offense taking second place, defense taking third, and team maintenance taking fourth and last. Each constituent was broken into three aspects. For independence or solo potential, it was broken down into self-preservation, versatility, and advantageous or self-buffs.
Hold up, London. Wouldn't self-preservation just go under defense? And didn't you already conclude that the engineer is the most versatile class?
You raise an important question, and I'm glad you asked. When it comes to solo combat potential, there is naturally going to be some overlap with the other constituents. Being independent will demand that one has some offensive and defensive capabilities. Independence, however, is more focused on the amount of options one has. The offense and defense constituents are oriented toward the options and how effective they are. As for the engineer being the most versatile, I concluded that it was the most generally intelligent, but I also said that it is not the best in every regard. Additionally, I said the assault pretty much has an answer to most situations.
So by the sounds of it, would you say that they match each other in versatility? Wait, what is versatility?
Versatility is essentially the adaptability of a given arc hunter, the amount of options they have for varying circumstances. How are they when severely outnumbered? How well do they take punishment? How many weapons do they specialize in? Etc., etc.
Or say, how effective are they against dark matter? The Vulge?
Exactly.
The Scrappers? What shields work best for them?
And yes, each of those, among others, are worth considering when discussing versatility. And frankly, even with all that in mind, I would say that both classes match each other in versatility. They may not have the same answer, but both have effective answers nonetheless. Ultimately, it is best to conclude that both are highly versatile with minuscule differences.
Alright, fine. What about self-preservation? We all know that the assault class has their healing stim and their amp skill. Meanwhile, the engineer has testudo, logic, the synchronization perk for increasing defense, and their mech skill, which has extremely high defense. So wouldn't the engineer have more tools and therefore be better fit for self-preservation?
Not exactly. You see, it's difficult to talk about one constituent of solo potential without discussing the others. The assault class may have two self-preserving skills, the healing stim and the amped, which decreases their self-revive time, but they also come equipped with recharge as the wild card and can play into the healing stim, but that will end up leading us to advantageous skills and self-buffs, which we will talk about shortly. Now additionally, the engineer has no means of decreasing their self-revive recharge time. I would consider this a major edge in favor of assault. At the end of the day, the Assault will likely survive going down multiple times more than the Engineer.
So you're saying it's harder to put down an Engineer due to the number of tools, but easier to force their extraction. Meanwhile, it is harder to force an Assault toward an extraction, but easier to put them down. Won't they both just have the same outcome over time?
Sort of. It's kind of like, would you rather have a car with great handling and awful braking, or awful handling and great braking? Alternatively, would you rather have a car with high acceleration and bad top speed, or high top speed and bad acceleration? The only way to get a clear answer is to ask the one logical question, what course are they driving on?
So in other words, it depends on who the ARC hunters are up against and their environment. Then aren't they equally effective in self-preservation too?
Pretty much. But we aren't finished yet. We still have self-buffs. Now, self-buffs is easily the most significant part of this comparison, as it is not only encompassing character buffs, but also tools and perks working synergistically with other perks and skills. Now, the Engineer has some of this, particularly with their Fury Drone, Flechette rounds, high-quality parts, synchronization, and the Artemis turret. Unfortunately, the Engineer may have compounding skills, but they are least effective when one is playing solo, meaning that they are oriented toward team-based play. Their alternative tool buffs are Suppressive Fire, Surprise Package, and high-quality parts. The Assault class, on the other hand, has no team-based buffs, and all skills are therefore unaffected by team members. Additionally, due to the Assault's recharge skill, this buffs the recharge of all chosen skills.
I have noticed that the Assault class has very low cooldown times for their abilities. So with the recharge perk, they can summon skills much more frequently, whether it is to a defensive or offensive end. Correct? They also have options toward buffing their ability with shotguns, assault rifles, SMGs, and grenades. But isn't the Engineer similar? They can buff any automatic weapon, and their surprise package is essentially a grenade buff in itself. Also, their high-quality parts allows their skills to last longer. It becomes a question of frequency over duration.
A very stark observation, but here is where I'll draw the line and say that one is superior to the other. We had already agreed that their effectiveness in versatility and self-preservation were essentially equal. However, the Assault class is more frequent in their ability to summon those effective skills or perks due to their synergistically oriented recharge perk. Frequency is important because more often than not, missions, arc falls, sieges, and enemy volume are high intensity, meaning it will require consistent and commensurate effort. Unless, of course, one is playing as the assassin, who naturally slows the pace of most encounters, but with quick results.
Now I remember in your complete class comparison you mentioned that you did not take synergies into account, but you had active synergies when comparing the assassin and the demolitionist. Shouldn't you do the same with these two?
Technically, I can't. The Assault has synergies specific to their skills. The Engineer, however, does not, which still speaks to the class's versatility and self-buffs. This gives another advantage to the Assault class over the Engineer.
Well, based on your breakdown, you have already covered all three aspects of solo potential. From what I've been able to gather, the Assault class and the Engineer match each other in versatility and self-preservation. But when it comes to self-buffs and advantageous skills, the Assault class takes the advantage since their skills are more frequent and less reliant on teammates for maximum effectiveness. Lastly, the Assault has class-specific synergies, while the Engineer does not, which takes away from their self-buffs. Did I get that right?
I would say that is a fair summary. As I have said in my class comparison, the Engineer is the line of best fit, but not the best in every regard. I would conclude that the Assault is the best class for solo potential or independent play, just not by a whole lot. Otherwise though, that is all this onion.
And this onion.
Oh my gosh, alright, fine. That is all these onions have to say. Junior, you have anything nice that you want to say to our guests before they go? Oh boy, I'm not dealing with this one. You're on your own. Thanks for stopping by, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Deal with this? Come on. You know, you can be a real asshole sometimes.